Hello, travelers. Welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For over 20 years, Reach the World has inspired youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens through virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and I'm so glad you're joining us for today's live stream event. What lies in the darkest, most remote depths of our oceans? How can we use incredible underwater robotics and technology to explore these places that inspire so much curiosity? Those are the questions at the center of Reach the World's virtual exchange expedition with members of the Ocean Infinity team. Today, we're talking with Ocean Infinity Vessels Manager, Adrian Dunlop. Adrian has had a fascinating career path, taking him from the tops of mountains to the bottom of the world's oceans and many places in between. He's joining us to talk about careers in exploration and to answer your questions about his work at sea. If you haven't already read Adrian's article about his work, we'll add the link in the chat bar. In fact, I think it's already there. If you're just joining us and want to reserve your classroom's place for the final couple video calls and articles of this virtual exchange, we'll add the registration link to the chat bar as well. I want to give a special welcome to the teachers and students who are joining us live today. Please feel free to use the YouTube chat bar to let us know you're here, where you're joining from, and of course, to share any questions you have for Adrian as we go. We'll get to as many questions as we can in the next 30 minutes or so. So with that, it's time to unlock the ocean secrets. Adrian, welcome to Reach the World.
Hi there. No, thanks for having me, everyone. Nice to be on here and talk about my interesting path to becoming a vessels manager at Ocean Infinity. Just to give you a quick overview, in case you haven't read my journal, I've not come through the conventional methods that other people have who have grown up on working on boats and robotics. As you probably would have seen, I grew up in the Highlands of Scotland, and the mountains was a big part of my life, and lots of skiing, which you'll see in my journal, and how I progressed through skiing into other avenues like rock climbing and teaching kids survival and all sorts of outdoor activities, which all led to randomly high ropes access, because obviously I'm not afraid of heights, love mountains, and you'll see what we did was we did high ropes access, which was scaling up and down oil rigs or wind turbines, doing all sorts of maintenance, which was really exciting. I loved it, and it's quite a buzz. And then that came into me suddenly being asked the question, oh, could you please go on a vessel for us to start exploring and mapping seabed, which is where I am today. So it's pretty exciting. I've got some photos to share with you guys from my time at sea, and how it progressed into my onshore role, which I'm going to share with you now. And I'll talk some more about the places I've been to in the world and some of the interesting things I've seen down at the depths of the ocean. Just bear with me a second. Here we are. Okay, hopefully you guys can see everything. Okay, here we go. I'll just start off the presentation. Here we are. This is I want to start off on one of the very first vessels I joined. This is before Ocean Infinity came. It's called the Seabed Worker, and it was a lovely little vessel that had two deep water ROVs and a deep water winch that went down to 6,000, all rated to 6,000 meters, which is incredible depth to get to. There's not many people or ships in the world that explore that deep. So we went around all parts of the world searching for things, anything clients needed. We saw all sorts of shipwrecks, which was fascinating to see. And as you see in my journal, it was it's amazing to think you're the first person to see something down there. since it was last seen on the surface. It was really cool, and all the bits and pieces you find around. Here's just a small picture of the back deck. Most of our vessels have a big crane for lifting heavy weights. The ones we have today are, they're 250-ton cranes. So and they go down to 3,000 meters just to pull up anything we need from those depths. So this is just an idea of the back deck while we're in transit. You can see winches and all sorts of equipment we have on the vessels. And then we come to the ROV, which is, you've probably seen footage of this before. Whenever you see shipwrecks or any footage down on the bottom of the seabed, this is a typical remotely operated vehicle you will see. So this is somebody working on it here, and directly below where he's kneeling down is the moon pool, which is a big hole we have in the ship. So, and it can go down to the depths that we go, and it helps the weather conditions. So we can, because it's right in the center of the vessel, so when the vessels sway in, it keeps it nice and steady rather than going over the side. So, and then you'll see the moon pool there. That's it when it's open and it's heading on its way down to the seabed. I'll just talk a bit about the equipment, and I'll show some of the interesting things I've seen and places we've gone to in the world. Here's more. These are subsea baskets. These ones go down they bring our tooling down if we ever need tools down at the seabed. So robotic tools at that ROV I showed earlier, they plug into down at the depths. It's called hot stabbing. They will plug hydraulically into these tools and operate them and move them around. And you can see we use the big crane to get it in position and send it onto a fiber rope winch all the way down to whatever depth we need to, up to 6,000 meters, which is pretty cool. Some interesting things when you're at sea. There's amazing things that you just don't think about. And this one's quite a funny one that I always look back on. Is this is a racing pigeon. We are at this point, we are anywhere near land. We're about a week from land, and this racing pigeon came to stay with us for a couple of days. And I think it's just because it was so tired crossing the Atlantic, it needed somewhere to stop. So of course, no land anywhere. It picked our ship for a couple of days for a rest before it headed off on its way. And again, we were all, it's quite hard to see in this photos, but you can see the ring on its foot. But of all the places you don't expect to see a pigeon. Some of the interesting stuff we've seen, like some shipwrecks, we've managed to find things like this, which is raw rubber from Japan, big bales of it. It's actually quite buoyant, so we didn't mean to bring it up. It's just, if it was lying around, these things do pop up naturally. It was quite a commodity during the First World War and Second World War. That we needed raw rubber, or rubber for tires and everything for the war effort in Europe, and a lot of it was shipped around from Japan. And of course, unfortunately, some of those ships never made it due to the war effort. So these things do wash up on beaches now and again, and it's incredible because it's been down at depth for 80 odd years, and you pull it up and it's still, as you can see there, it's still as it was, and I can pull on it and very pliable. So that's some of the interesting things we pulled up. As you would have seen in my journal, a lot of the shipwrecks we've been to are so deep that you can still read the newspapers, which I just find fascinating. It's just something you never expect when you put anything in water for it to last that long. And it's amazing you can still read letters. And even there's, in history, you hear of people, getting rid of paperwork before a ship went down, and then we find it, of course, and it's really fascinating. Other things we've had before, we've had a helicopter come check us out for whatever reason. So sometimes as well, unfortunately, because we are so far at sea, if somebody does have a medical need, we're actually out of helicopter range. So if we do need to go anywhere, sometimes we might have to sail 2 days just to get in reach of a helicopter. So it's an incredibly dangerous job, but that's just part of it. And sometimes some people might need rescued for whatever reasons. And then I'll move on to another vessel I went on, which is called the Seabed Prince. Again, sailing the world, going to all sorts of different places. This one had a helideck up at the bow, and then this is a picture here of the ABs who are from the Philippines. And what they do is they do an incredibly important job. They take care of any lifting we need, any painting we need, just general maintenance, keep the boat running. They do an incredible job and work really hard. But this photo always sticks in my mind because they were far too hot painting the helideck, and I think we were in Colombia, and you can see what they did was they actually got a piece of cardboard and cut a hole in it and put it over their hard hat, so they had the shade while they were working on the helideck. So and here's another photo here. I think it got so hot that they ended up putting a pool on there for their downtime so they could sit in there and cool off. Other interesting things I've seen, this is in the Caribbean. It's a hopefully you guys can see it all right, but there's a butterfly the size of my hand, which was quite a shock for me. Again, it's just something I would never see, but if I didn't travel to all these interesting places. So I just thought it's a photo that I share quite a lot with people, because I've never seen anything that size, especially a butterfly. And then another thing when we were sailing through the Caribbean was flying fish. They would actually, there were so many flying fish. They would, while we were working on the back deck, maintaining all our equipment, they would be able to jump up onto the back deck, and I would go around trying to save them, put them back in the sea. But obviously some didn't, and it's just incredible to see. You can see the wings quite clearly on that fish there, and it's amazing to watch just them jumping around everywhere and flying while your vessel's sailing through. Here's another picture of the ROV with myself there, just showing you the size of the robot that's going down. It's operated. The top part, the circular part, is called a TMS, a tether management system, and what that does, that goes down on the umbilical from the ship, and then the ROV can detach from that and fly around anything we're looking at, or down into look at a shipwreck, for instance, down in a cargo hold, and it's not affected by the ship's heave while it's going up and down. So it just shows you, how much kit and how much the robotics has come on in the world, so that we can just keep operating. And so it's some brilliant technology. And then this picture I always find funny is that is an ROV stripped down. So that's what it looks like without all its buoyancy on, without all its tools on. It's really not that much. So it's quite clever designs. Other equipment we come across, this one's fascinating, and not many people have seen this because this is before Ocean Infinity came, is an excavator. I think you've all probably been on farms or building sites where you see excavators on tracks with big buckets. This is one that goes subsea. So it crawls around on the seabed, it'll dig trenches. If there's anything we're looking for that's slightly buried under, it has a very powerful dredge on it, which is basically a big vacuum, and it will just suck away all the silt. So it's an incredible hardy bit of machinery which we use. And then of course life on board, which you would have seen off Seth previously. This is us working in quite dangerous territories, which I mentioned in my journal. We were actually on some sites off Somalia and Yemen, and then we had security on board, armed security, because there's a very real threat of piracy out there, where they will come on board and either, you know, kidnap people, hold ransom, or for whatever their reasons are, they would come onto boats like ours. So we actually, this is the captain here. It might be quite hard to see, but he's on his binoculars because we saw some suspect vessels. And what we did all sorts of training. We had we would have a thing called a citadel, which is one room on the ship where we would all be locked in, and only the captain, the chief officer, and the security guards would stay on the bridge until the threat was over. And we did many drills like this, and they would also, the security firm that we had on board would even tell us, oh, might be locked in there for 2 days, so make sure you take a bag with some food and a book, because you know, some of these conflicts can take a while. So we'd have that, but they were fantastic, really professional. They would look out. They would have night vision goggles in case anyone was trying to sneak up on us. We had razor wire all around the back of the deck to make it very hard for any pirates to come on board. And yeah, they looked after us really well. And obviously, with the armed guards, after this we sailed up the Red Sea to go through the Suez Canal, and there at that point we can't take weapons into port, so there's a special barge that comes out and picks up the weapons of our security guards halfway up the Red Sea, and then we, before we head to Suez. But it was amazing to work down there. The sea temperature is so warm that the air conditioning on the vessel struggles to keep up with the temperature. So so what we end up doing is, it's so nice at night times, we'll have a barbecue on the back deck instead of eating inside, which is lovely when you're sailing up the Red Sea, just to be sat there amongst all our big equipment and robots, just to be sat outside and have a barbecue together. And there you go, there's the chefs there. The chefs are incredible. You know, because we're 24-hour operations, you know, it's 4 meals a day, looking after night shift and day shift, and most of them are Filipino as well on all our vessels, and it's an amazing job they do. You know, there's a lot of people mouths to feed, and it's really good food. Everyone's really happy with what they did, with what they do. And hopefully you can see this. This is a little video of dolphins. Actually, I think you saw my journal, and I was quite lucky in the west coast of Scotland to you know, see dolphins, wild dolphins playing up close to me, and I did manage to get some great pictures of them. But this is because of the seabed prints. It's helideck on the front. You could actually stand on the helideck and look down to the bulb, which is the strengthened part of the bow of the boat, in case, you know, you ever hit anything. So you can see the bulb just under the water there. And if I play this video here, you can see 3 dolphins just playing around at the front of the boat, and we saw this quite regularly. I'll play that again just in case you can see that. So it's lovely to see, just, you know, these wild animals just loving that the boat's there, and they're just playing in front effortlessly. Just 2 seconds. Oh yeah, this one. I'll go to this one here. This is Suez Canal, and I've put my photos in here because I've, luckily enough, I've been through the Suez Canal because it's been in the news quite recently with a big blockage. But this is us just coming into the mouth of the Suez Canal with some big ships. You can see in the distance, you get all put in a line and go through the Suez Canal, which takes about a whole day, I think 12 hours to get through the whole thing. But you can see even the size of the canal there and the size of the ships there. It must have been something pretty massive to block it. So I just thought I'd put there. And then, of course, you know, we went to some interesting places like Rock of Gibraltar there. There's Gibraltar, that's us coming into port, which is a fascinating place, just in the Mediterranean. And sometimes when we have a bit of shore leave, you see some interesting things, like even in Gibraltar, there's the monkeys up on the Rock of Gibraltar that we get to go up and visit, which is good fun to see. And then just to take it further from this, so I managed to travel all the world in these two boats, and another vessel called Foreland Inspector, and seen some fascinating sights, and things to see down in the depths. But then I came into vessel management, which is what I'm doing today, which is running the logistics of all our vessels, like making sure there's fuel, making sure I've planned their voyage, making sure all the equipment on deck's working, and it's all seaworthy as well, and safety, of course. Safety's the big one. And this is and also we, sometimes we have to take ships into dry dock. So every 5 years, ships have to go high and dry and get either, they might need their anti-foul or the paint repainted, or they need all the marine growth cleaned. So this is us checking out our ship that we have at the moment, called the Island Pride, and I think you saw around it the other day with Seth. So this is what the vessel looks like high and dry, which I always find fascinating. And you're able to walk underneath, and I just love the dry dock time. It's just amazing to see it out of the water. There's the propellers at the back, and that's the captain actually of the Island Pride there. Because we've just had the propellers polished, which makes it more efficient, better fuel consumption, and better for the environment. So it's I just wanted to share those photos with you, because it's always a nice time. And then one of the last photos is, I thought I'd show, because you might recognize some people, but this is what us setting up the seabed constructor. This is the start of Ocean Infinity, which I was lucky enough to be there for. It's when we built up the seabed constructor, and we hired in our AUV guys for the first time, which was which you will recognize a couple of people, probably Chad and Seth, a younger version of them in there from when they first started. So it's been a great team to work with, and very, very lucky. And like I say, it's not your usual way, but it just shows you, if you're adventurous and you love the outdoors, anything can come your way. And I'm lucky enough to have a brilliant job that I love. So,
right, Adrian, thank you so much. Yeah, it's
no
fascinating to hear your story. If you want to come out of screen share, I've got a whole bunch of questions to pass along to you. And while you're doing that, I'm glad you ended on the adventure part of your job, because it really comes through when you talk about some of the situations you've experienced, that the adventure is exciting for you, that's a big part of what sort of motivated you on this job path. I wonder, is being an adventure lover, is that a good path to a job in working on the oceans? Is there always sort of something new, something exciting going on?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. The good thing about adventure is, is a variety. There's always something new every day, and this job, they're absolutely a new challenge and something different every day. So if you're into that sort of thing, this is the way to go. And also the good thing about adventure is you have to be quite adaptive to any surroundings you're in, and that's exactly how it is at the ocean. You have to be able to adapt for anything. Sorry, have I stopped sharing? I'm not sure if I stopped sharing the screen.
Yes, you have. It looks good, and I'll switch this here. It sounds like you have seen and been to many, many parts of the world that most people maybe don't get to see, including some places very far offshore. What is it like to be so far away from land that you are a week away from land? It's a sensation, or maybe just a experience that most people don't get to have. Is it peaceful? Is it scary? How do you feel when you're that far away from land?
I find it really peaceful. I don't find it scary. There's times when the weather's pretty bad, and you think to yourself, well, if anything bad happens, it's a long time until we get help. But no, it is so peaceful out there, and you don't see any boats. There's nothing. It's really cool, really cool.
How, if anything, has oceans or working on the oceans changed since you first got on your first vessel to today?
I think it's the technology. It is constantly changing. I think the especially with us, like when we first started, we're so much more advanced than we were because we push the boundaries, which is the best thing. But it's the technology is already better, and also even things like phone calls. So when I used to phone home when I first on the ship, and there's always that 2-second delay because of the satcoms, the latency. So you're trying to talk, you say hello, and then your mum says hello, and then you talk over each other. But now you can do a video call like this. It's just incredible how much that's come on.
And we got to experience that with our live video call with Island Pride, sort of somewhere in the Pacific. Is pretty amazing to be so in contact with somebody that's so far off of land.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So
you work with and have done lots of different jobs around boats and vessels and ocean exploration. You mentioned a couple of the other jobs that people on board the ship do. Are there other sort of career paths if you want to eventually end up on a ship out in the ocean doing ocean exploration?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a lot of the people, surveying is quite a big one. Being able to read maps and geology. We have a lot of geologists on board, that those are good career paths to go through. And obviously, a lot of our guys as well actually are quite practical, so they can fix anything. So people that are quite good with their hands are always sort of needed offshore. So there's a variety of ways you can get into it. Absolutely. And yeah, I'm just trying to think of anything else, but yeah, no, those are the big ones, definitely.
This is kind of a technical question. You've used the word vessel, boat, and ship. Is there a difference between a vessel, a boat, and a ship, or when you use those words?
No, I think it's just me mixing it up, but I like to use all of them, but no, there's not really. Okay. No.
I wouldn't want to call a ship a boat and offend anybody. I didn't know if there was sensitivity around that. No. You shared with us some of your wildlife encounters, the dolphin and the flying fish. That was really cool. Do you see whales? Do you go like for weeks without seeing anything? Is it sort of hit or miss?
No, yeah, sometimes you can, but you can hit and miss, and sometimes it's only the bridge that sees it, because if we're on the back deck, it's amazing just being down at that sea level. You don't see as much, but the bridges are quite high up. They're about 4 or 5 levels up, so they see a lot more, and obviously they have a 360 view, windows all around. But yeah, we see whales, plenty of dolphins, all sorts. One time actually, we had the ROV was attacked by a swordfish, which was incredible. And I'm not sure. I need to find the footage of that, but it was just it was attacking our ROV, and you expect it to come back out with like a bent sort of sword nose at the front, but it was fine. It just swam off. And then one of the really interesting ones, which I find quite creepy, is down at depth. There's a fish called a rat tail, and you only ever see one. They seem to be alone, and it's usually around a shipwreck. And it's just the slowest moving fish you'll ever see, and it's never seen light before. So I find that fascinating. And I think they're born at 1,000 meters below the surface, and as they get older, they get deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah, incredible.
That's amazing. What do they do when they're caught in the headlight of an ROV?
Well, they still move dead slow. They just cruise around, just a bit curious, but I guess with there barely any oxygen down there, it's they can't move quickly.
Awesome. We spoke with one of your colleagues last week, Charlotte, about some of Ocean Infinity's new vessels that are being created and designed, and problems that she's facing that have never been solved before, that you all are working on. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your role in the development of Armada and what excites you about that project.
Yeah, sure. I guess my role because I'm operations, so I help, everything from logistics and keep operations going. And same throughout this pandemic, we just kept it going the whole time. Is my role with the new vessels is going to be the same. I'll be once they're built and ready to go, I'll make sure they stay in operation and keep going. So at the moment, I'm looking into making sure they are fit for us, and everything's going to work, and also all the paperwork that's involved in improving these systems, because we need to prove, because it's never been done before, it's all unmanned, we have to prove to the relevant authorities like flag state and class that we can operate them without men on, which has never been done before. So we're doing a lot of safety case analysis, which is pretty exciting.
For students who may not know what a flag state is, can you explain that?
Yeah, it's basically it's any country that you register your boat in, you come under those flag state controls. So they have slightly different rules in each country, but they're all pretty similar. So it's yeah, that's all it is. So most of ours, we're going to start off UK flagged, the first ones that are arriving.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're ever out on the water, or I see these on Lake Michigan near where I live, in the back of the boat, it says the name of the boat, and then it says a place. And yeah, for bigger ships, it would be a country or a city in which the ship is registered. Yeah.
Well, usually the place on the stern's the where it was built. So you can actually have a ship built in Britain, but it's actually flagged in Bahamas or anywhere else. And the Island Pride is actually Norwegian flagged. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
So you've been all over the world. You've had amazing adventures as part of your career at sea and prior to being at sea. Is there any place in the world that you would love to go to still, that is on the top of your list, that you'd love to explore?
Oh, it's definitely where Holly's been already, the Antarctic. I'd love to get down there. And I mean, that's yeah, that would be amazing, really. No, definitely, that's probably the one that really stands out, Tim. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool that we've already been down there. So I'd love to go.
Amazing. We're sort of wrapping up here, and since we're really focusing on careers in marine exploration, ocean exploration, I wonder if you could give us some parting advice to students who have heard your stories and think that what you've done and what you do sounds really cool, and they might want to pursue a career path similar to yours. What advice would you have for them?
Oh, just follow your passions. That's all I can say. Make sure if there's something you love doing, do it and see how far you can take it, and it'd be amazing what doors open up to you. But just and find new passions as well that you can follow. That's the important thing. So.
All right, Adrian, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really fun hearing your stories and learning about your career path. I want to thank also our entire on-camera and YouTube live stream audience for joining us today. This recording will be available immediately afterwards for people who may have missed us this morning. We have just one more Ocean Infinity special guest to come, and she was named right at the end. We're going to go back to Holly and wrap things up with her in about a week. So make sure you don't miss it. You can visit the expedition homepage. You can read Adrian's article. I highly recommend it, especially the image of the newspaper at the bottom of the ocean. Fascinating thing to see and consider. And make sure you register to make sure you don't miss a single article or video call with our Ocean Infinity team. So for a complete listing of upcoming Reach the World events, you can visit athome.reachtheworld.org. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thank you, Adrian.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. Bye.